Right now, as you watch this, how many apps are fighting for your attention? How many notifications are stacked up? How many times today have you already checked your phone without even realizing it? Here's what nobody tells you. Your phone isn't just stealing your time, it's stealing something far more valuable. And the people who figured this out, they're living a completely different life. This is about the quiet strength of the deliberately disconnected. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why some of the most powerful people you know are doing something radical. They're disappearing on purpose.
Let's start with a truth that's gonna make you uncomfortable. You're not actually connecting with anyone right now. You're being harvested. Every app on your phone is designed by teams of engineers whose entire job is to make you pick it up. Not because it helps you, because it makes them money. The average person touches their phone 2,617 times a day. That's not a habit. That's an addiction by design. But here's what's really happening behind the scenes. Every time you respond to a notification, you're training your brain to be reactive instead of intentional. You're fragmenting your attention into smaller and smaller pieces. And attention? That's not just focus. That's your life force. You know that feeling when you sit down to do something important, and suddenly it's 3 hours later and you've accomplished nothing but scrolling? That's not laziness. That's attention drain. That's decision fatigue. That's emotional overwhelm, all engineered to keep you engaged. The question isn't, can I disconnect? The question is, what version of me exists when I'm not constantly interrupted?
So here's where it gets interesting. The people who've mastered this, they're not just taking breaks. They're not doing dopamine detoxes for a weekend and then going right back. They're redesigning their entire relationship with technology. And it starts with one radical shift, moving from reactive to proactive. Most people only disconnect when they're burned out. That's like only sleeping when you collapse. The deliberately disconnected, they schedule it, they engineer it, they make it non-negotiable. Here's the playbook. First, notifications off. Not on silent, off. If something is truly urgent, people know how to reach you. Everything else? That's someone else's agenda, interrupting yours. Second, focus mode isn't for when you're working. It's your default state. You choose when to be available, not the other way around. Third, tech-free zones. Your bedroom isn't a charging station. Your dinner table isn't a screen park. These aren't rules, they're boundaries that protect what actually matters. But here's what nobody tells you about disconnection. The first 48 hours are hell. You'll feel phantom vibrations. You'll reach for your phone without thinking. You'll feel anxious, like you're missing something crucial. You're not. That's just withdrawal. And on the other side, that's where your actual life is waiting. Now we get to the part that changes everything. Because disconnection isn't actually about technology. It's about what happens in the silence that follows. When you first unplug, really unplug, there's a moment of panic. Your brain doesn't know what to do without constant stimulation. You feel bored, uncomfortable, maybe even a little lost. And here's why that matters. That discomfort, that's where your real self lives. Think about it. When was the last time you were truly bored? Not inconvenienced, not waiting, but genuinely, deeply bored with nothing to distract you. Most people can't remember, and that's a problem, because boredom is where creativity comes from. Innovation doesn't happen when you're scrolling. It happens in the empty spaces. The deliberately disconnected know this. They've learned to sit with discomfort, to let their minds wander without a podcast, to think without Googling the answer. And what they discover in that space? Clarity.
self-awareness, ideas they didn't know they had. Your brain, when it's not being constantly interrupted, does something magical. It consolidates. It makes connections. It solves problems you weren't even consciously working on. That shower thought you had, that random, brilliant idea that came out of nowhere, that wasn't random. That was your brain finally getting to do its job without interference. And here's the really powerful part. When you stop outsourcing your attention, you build a kind of mental resilience that's almost impossible to develop any other way. You learn that you can handle silence, that you don't need constant validation, that you're enough even when no one's watching. That's not just disconnection, that's freedom. Let me tell you about Sarah, tech executive, always connected, always available. She started with one rule: no phone in the bedroom. That's it. Within 3 weeks, she was sleeping better than she had in a decade. Within 3 months, she'd gotten her promotion because her work quality had improved so dramatically. She didn't work more hours, she worked better hours. Or David, a university student who deleted all social media for 1 semester. Not because he was depressed, because he was curious. He wanted to see what would happen. What happened? His grades went up, his relationships got deeper, and for the first time since he was 12, he felt like himself again. These aren't anomalies. This is what happens when you reclaim your attention. Your relationships change because you're actually present. You're not half listening while checking your phone. You're not thinking about what to post. You're there, fully, and people feel it. Your productivity skyrockets, not because you're working harder, but because you're working in long, uninterrupted blocks. The kind of deep work that actually moves your life forward instead of just keeping you busy. And here's the thing nobody talks about. You stop living for an audience. When you're not constantly documenting your life, you start actually living it. That sunset you're watching it, not filming it, not thinking about the caption, just experiencing it. The deliberately disconnected aren't missing out. They're opting in to real conversations, to actual presence, to a life that's theirs, not a performance for strangers. So, here's how you start. Not tomorrow, today, right now. Step 1, pick 1 hour. Just 1, every day at the same time. Your phone goes into a drawer, not on silent, in a drawer, out of sight. And in that hour, you do something analog. Read, walk, cook, draw. Sit and stare at the wall if you want. The activity doesn't matter. The uninterrupted time does. Step 2, delete 1 app. The one you know is stealing your time. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever your poison is, delete it. Not, I'll use it less, delete it. You can always install it later, but give yourself 2 weeks without it and see what happens. Step 3, tell people what you're doing. Not because you need permission, but because you need to normalize it. When you say, I'm not checking messages after 8 p.m., you're not being difficult. You're setting a boundary. And boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you control. Now, let's talk about what's going to try to stop you. FOMO, fear of missing out. Your brain is going to tell you that something important is happening without you, that you're falling behind, that you're being left out. Here's the truth. Nothing important is happening on your phone at 11 p.m. Nothing. The things that matter, they'll wait. The things that won't wait, they're not actually important. And here's what happens after you push through that initial discomfort. Calm, focus, a sense of control you forgot was possible. You start sleeping better, thinking clearer, feeling more like yourself. The deliberately disconnected aren't monks or technophobes. They're people who realized that attention is currency, and they were spending theirs on things that didn't matter. They took it back, and their lives transformed.
Here's what nobody tells you about deliberate disconnection. It's not about what you give up. It's about what you get back. You get back your mornings. Instead of reaching for your phone, you wake up slowly. You think your own thoughts before anyone else's flood in. You get back your evenings. Instead of scrolling until you fall asleep, you actually rest. Your brain stops racing. Your body remembers what tired feels like. You get back your relationships. When you're with someone, you're actually with them. No phantom presence of everyone else in your pocket. You get back yourself, the person you are when you're not performing, when you're not comparing, when you're just being. And here's the most powerful part. That quiet strength you've been building in the silence, it doesn't just exist in the moments when you're offline. It becomes who you are. You become someone who can sit with discomfort, who doesn't need constant validation, who knows their own mind because they've spent time in it. The deliberately disconnected aren't running away from the world. They're running toward themselves. And what they find there, it's worth more than any notification, any like, any moment of digital dopamine. This is your invitation. Not to abandon technology, but to master it, to make it serve you instead of the other way around, to reclaim the one resource you can never get back: your attention, your time, your life. The quiet strength is already inside you. It's just waiting for the noise to stop so it can finally speak.
If this video resonated with you, try this. Leave your phone in another room tonight. Just once. See what happens. Before you go, take one more slow breath. You made it through a 9-minute video without scrolling, and that means something. You're stronger than you think, quieter than the world allows, and more powerful when you're present than when you're performing. Welcome back to yourself.